Hello guys. I am Brandon Carey. Joining me as always is Aldwin
Hi.
and Anaphysic, aka Will.
Hi there.
And we are going to play Alpha Protocol while Will lectures us about geopolitical politics in Taiwan and China. Really?
There's
Nothing?
actually what I mean. That's what's going to happen, right? No one's going to object, right?
I mean, that's what happened last time, so I don't know how we'd stop you this time.
Chat now or forever hold your peace.
So, in all sincerity, like shortly before we finished off the last mission, we were forced to choose between the
Continuing or letting Aldo do stuff. Yeah, we had to make a choice.
Yeah, we had to
in-
choose
in-
between
in-game.
the,
Yeah, yeah.
the data for the riots or the data between the Ronald Song assassination on the thumb drive. After we talked about how silly that choice is, given exactly who's at play and what we're doing. But I believe, if memory serves, I chose the assassination data we're keeping for this run.
It's because New Dark Cloud really likes Ron Sung, and he wants to keep him alive, and definitely wouldn't just like the bastard die.
Look, I stand behind my problems with this conversation. Like, I get you. I get, like, it's a cultural thing.
No, well, the thing is, so there's additional. Like, I'll get into this when we do the contact song mission, which is coming up.
Which is right now, so talk
Yeah,
about
but
it.
well, there are things that make the things that wrong Sung say make even more sense. But
I understand you have some
that brings up the question of how did they get like this right? They botched the basic ROC PRC relations issue. So it makes me think this was just purely
This is a troubling development, Agent Thornton.
so because Song is I almost said wrong. I don't know why.
Ronald Song.
I know, but why am I
Wrong for
contracting
short.
that? I mean, that's the wrong word to use.
With compelling evidence of this plot.
The wrong word to use.
So Ronald Song being pro-Taiwanese independence, the game doesn't seem to really understand what Taiwanese independence actually means. But being pro-Taiwanese independence means that Ronald Song essentially has to be a member of the Pan-Green Coalition. That is basically all the political parties that are in favor of Taiwanization. And the most important one there is the DPP, the Progressive Party, which was programmed in the 80s and then got legalized in very late 80s and is generally often the bigger party right now. It's wavered back and forth between them and the traditional KD. But right now, the DPP is really a more popular party.
So how long did you spend like reading up on this between last week and this week?
0 minutes whatsoever, actually.
Okay.
How long did you spend reading this between this recording and the last time we tried to make this show?
I don't know. I
that's
looked at the
not really
Wikipedia article or
relevant.
two.
I will put this to good use.
I didn't know a amount of stuff back in Disclosure. I wasn't thinking about it in the context of the game. And it took me a while to process it and to come around to like, wait a second, this stuff really
Doesn't
like some of this makes a lot of sense, but actually a lot of it makes very fundamentally little sense. Anyway,
Yeah.
so Sung here has two different objections depending on if you save station data or save the riot data. So if you save the riot data, and this is the one that I think actually makes a fair amount of sense, but we covered this in Disclosure originally. If you save the riot data, Sung refuses to wear a vest. He refuses to wear an assassination. He doesn't. It seems like he sort of doesn't take that threat seriously, but I think it's more that he is super willing to martyr for his cause. He thinks being killed in this event was in what. First of all, he has a like Taiwan will weather what she has, as she always has, sort of. Which is the kind of attitude that could end up getting you involved in World War III, which is not a great attitude to be really having for geopolitical stability.
Or when you're the leader of a given nation, yes.
Yeah, it's probably not the best actually for the people, but he has an ideal in mind, and that ideal kind of transcends individual. That social idea can transcend individual.
He is the most
safety.
dangerous person of all, Will, an idealist.
Thanks for
Yes.
Good luck, Mike.
Said like every bad guy from every show you've ever watched.
Also, Dark Cloud, the bad guy from this show that you're watching right now.
No, I never said that he was an idealist. I, in fact, just thought he was dumb. That's all. It's different.
Anyway, I happen to think that makes a fair amount of sense for his character. Like, I think it's a character flaw.
Yeah.
But I think it makes sense with the character and makes sense with the culture of very much being.
Yeah. Like I recant a lot of that.
The
like,
social.
'cause I've had
social
years
position.
of learning culture in the meantime.
And in the. And just so we're clear, I think it's actually totally fine to disagree with the position, but it's different than saying that it is a wrong thing to be presenting. Like it's a bad storyline. It's I disagree with your position. That's totally fine thing to do. Although Mike is not given. Unfortunately, Mike doesn't. Partly because Mike cipher in terms of like deliberately in terms of he's hiding his true emotions. That's one of the ways that it's presented. So you can't often like really argue against other people, and there's not.
Yeah, you can't go.
And there's no investigate dialogue tree type stuff.
Yeah, it's
really,
like yeah, you should wear a jacket because I can't prove the assassination, but like I got to prove the riots. That should be enough to like to let you think I'm credible, right? And Song goes no, and Thornton goes, oh okay.
Yeah, but I mean that you can't like make a philosophical argument against him, right? You can't say, look, it might gives a little, but you can't like try and give people one. And partly that's because the dialogue system is set up to be moving space would be like.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate thing.
I mean, this game doesn't really
I
have
think
like
it's
skill
unfortunate
checks.
because I like those kind of.
there's-
I like those kind of interactive dialogue.
It's just not the focus of this game, right? Like
Yeah.
the game, the point is to like manipulate information and relationships.
What
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be cool though is if like you were able to talk to Sung prior to getting the information and like build up a reputation, so that when the time comes, you are credible enough to sway him.
That would be interesting. Would also give us a better reason because for this particular mission that we just because why the fuck were we allowed to talk to the president of Taiwan? Just some random note.
When we're suspected of being like the guy who's trying to kill him. Yes, I was talking about this in my fucking post for last episode where
more than that, like just shut up a fucking hotel. My goodness. Like I'm pretty sure I actually know that you ran through the cameras.
Yeah, but my favorite part was talking about this during the post of my last episode where let's assume for a moment that Omen Dang like is like with Sung, because he is like Omen Dang is Sung's agent. Let's just say that right now.
Well, maybe that's the
Or at
thing.
least-
It's not
or
clear
at
how
least,
much
like,
contact he
an
has
ally
with
with
them.
him.
But they have enough contact that the NSB has data on Omen Dang, and presumably knows that he's not a threat. Anyway, I do want to talk about that same thing around happened to us in Disclosure. What's hilarious for the rifle. The
I
little
don't think they
cannon.
fixed any bugs
You-
like last time.
These sniper rifles are terrible on keyboard and mouse.
Oh, they're really bad. Anyway, so if you say riot's data, someone won't wear a vest or whatever, and I happen to think that's because if you say the data, he'll only wear it because his basic security team forces him to do so because they have look. There's provable evidence. Like
Yeah,
you
isn't that-
absolutely have to.
doesn't
Cannot
say that-
overrule them in that case.
Like in hindsight, I don't actually.
Whereas in
like,
this
I'm
case,
not
he
gonna consider
does
that a plot
overrule.
hole. I was going to consider that a character defect, which you know,
No,
people have
it's
defects.
completely fine.
People,
Yeah,
people are flawed characters.
But in the other case, when you say the assassination data, he refuses to provide additional security for the riots, for the potential riots, the crowd. And the reason that he sees that he doesn't want to look like a petty dictator. And you also had problems with this last time. In
That one, like now, like in hindsight, now that like, we've now I've had 5 years of growth in the meantime, like that makes all the sense to me. That makes all the world of sense to me.
it even
like,
is extra because of the particular political situation in Taiwan, which was a one-party military dictatorship for 35 years. Let's see.
Yeah, a lot of states
No,
like
40 years or so.
a lot of states like that are very wary about any type of military presence.
And well, Sung being pro-Taiwan independence would have to be from the PP who are, political enemies of the Kuomintang, who were that one-party military dictatorship for a few years, and so very definitely would not want to look like, oh, you're
just like them.
Yeah, you're like the party we didn't vote for. Remember, they are now a pure electoral democracy. Like, he has to aim the voters. I don't think we can many votes. So particular reasons to not want to look like, like if you were a KMT member, like there'd be some part of the electorate that would enjoy like having a show of force because it harkens back to a stronger military past, and also particular like aggressive stance towards the PRP or more aggressive promotion of Chinese culture. That, right? So it'd be like you're taking a longer stance. So there might be part of the electorate that would go with that. But the DPP politician, I don't think there's any way he would play with that. But the thing is that they have like what it means to be pro-Taiwanese independence, anti-Taiwanese independence in the lore elsewhere is this like a really clever, subtle thing, which is just never mentioned, and that's a problem on its own. Like they don't mention internal Taiwanese politics, and there's no dossier place for it.
Which is why someone like me who like is not
there's
familiar
no
with that topic can say something stupid like, "Oh, this doesn't make sense."
And that's not even your fault. Like that's explicitly the game's fault. There is no context of major events, especially since like, these are real historical events. You could use that as entertainment.
Yeah. Like people like it's assumed that you know enough of the context to figure out what's going on, but with this specific case, a lot of people don't the way they would with like Russia.
Also,
right?
yeah, like Taiwan history is for like us mainland, like us Americans, that's somewhat obscure topic to talk about.
It's pretty significant, like post Cold War, like Cold War politics.
Hey, rather than this being made in the 70s and came to could make something like this. Really a very very relevant topic off like literally in the news all the time.
Yeah, because we don't like.
Also, just so much more news nowadays that it's harder to know. Like there are current dealing with this. Like there were major implications to phone calls made to the president of Taiwan.
Right.
That happened recently.
And like people are always talking about the South China Sea, right? Which is where Taiwan is.
There's also there's also very awareness of many different world events that it's easy to get. Everybody needs some wiki articles today.
Yeah.
There is a deluge of news out there. And you can't keep up.
There's actually I wonder if I heard it from actually Seamus Young, or maybe somebody else. But a suggestion how to do news in a more today's world-friendly way, where because you have to know some background info on the events, like the way that news articles are often written, as just here let's just present this current event, this current development bit. That doesn't give you the background historical context that you need to understand what the hell that actually means.
Yeah.
And so constructing articles, news websites as more like as heavily hyperlinked, going into like multiple different like background snippets. So you start with like a core level, this is the most basic outline we can try and present it.
Yeah,
and
just like an explainer, right? That's how people write things.
This delves into like 3 different rules that then give that's the level. So you start with explain it with 5 and then get multiple tiers as you go down further, and present more info, the relevant background historical, and part of that is like you have to choose what you think is relevant. So you have to have an extensive team, and you have to make editorial decisions on that, and that is difficult. That is not something that is super easy or uncontroversial.
Yeah,
but it is also part of the job.
Because like one of the things with a
and it would probably make these more readable and people enjoy about it.
Yeah. Because I mean, people write. So where was so like when you're writing something like this, you get those kinds of inconsistencies, right? Where some people have like the detail and they write all this nuanced stuff, and then some people are trying to deal with the wider narrative and trying to make this fit to the Alpha Protocol stuff, and it's hard to get everything in there, especially in a way that's like fun to play. It's not an easy.
Also consider like the very notorious timeline for this game.
Yeah.
I mean, they rebuilt it from
scenes all
scratch
over the
halfway
place.
through.
There's narrative scenes just like there's gameplay scenes.
Yeah, like there's like Taipei, as we said this before, but Taipei feels incomplete, like as a hub. Like there's something there feels like there's stuff that's actively missing from it.
And not in a good way that something can feel incomplete. Like you can have, like I just played through I didn't play through, but I navigated some friends through a game called Puzzle Agent, which I highly recommend. Either of you have played it?
I have not heard of it.
I have it
know
on
what
Steam.
this
I've
is.
never actually run
It's
it, though.
it's a $5 game if you played it. There's a $10 sequel to it that continues on. It's a Telltale game. It's one of the few basically original properties, although a Telltale game in cooperation with a artist, Graham Annable, who developed many of the story themes outside of it in his own animations. It's done in his style. And it's got a very cool aesthetic to it. Very much kind of like comic book paint. It's very X-Files like, Twin Peaks like, like any of those sort of things. Highly recommend it. I played my brother through it. He was like, "This is exactly like Twin Peaks. This is amazing. I love this." And in the first game, there's a mystery and strange elements involved, and you get to the end of the game. It's kind of a spoiler for plotting through the game, just the experience of it. Certainly left my friends rather after this. You don't find out the answers at the end of the game. Like the main character doesn't find out the answers. They go back to their day job, the FBI Department of Puzzle Research, with more questions than they actually got answers from it. And that is like a dull part of the story. So you can't have like, oh, this doesn't explain things. This feels incomplete in a good way. Like Puzzle Agent, I think, is a great example of a good way, especially since they do develop a lot of the sequel Puzzle Agent too. Although that one also raises more questions, kind of deliberately.
But with a game like Alpha Protocol, where
but yeah, with this is not the good way of incomplete. This is not the missed feeling. It's just and you can have that in a spy game. The spy game is a perfect place for it because you don't know what motives of all the characters. Like, what if we just never found out what Omen Dang was doing?
Or what if we just never found out who the actual assassin for Ronald Sung was?
Who the actual assassin is? Yeah. Like that would be.
Which, by the way, you
choice.
can miss. That's a missable fact, and it's fine if you do.
Yeah, there are two ways to get it, and one of the ways is rather annoying because it's a dumb choice that you have to make. Like, do you contact this person or decrypt the PDA or whatever? But it's contrived to do both.
Yeah.
oh wow,
The
you
only
have
reason
one
I can
health
think
up.
of that you can't do both is because they were using like the same
fine.
asset. They were using the same computer and they didn't want to have to program more.
It's a thing.
It feels lazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find out from the assassin herself, or if you saved Omen Dang will tell you.
Yeah, I know. Like, it does feel weird.
Instead
You
of
can't
talking to
just use
Parker.
that computer to make all the contacts. Like, but you have to choose one. Like that does feel kind of weird. But I guess if you're like in a rush, I guess.
There are some things that are pretty artificial, but it's just like, yeah, if you're in a rush, but it needs to make clear that you're in a rush, right?
Yeah.
So it
that-
seems kind of silly because like, I could have just had a contact Omen Dang mission, although that would complicate the fact that there's a Scarlet Light mission. Which would be final.
I mean, you could just talk to all of them. Like you could even go into Scarlet conversation knowing she's the assassin and see see how that changes things.
Sorry, what I mean is they would have to make They would have to make an additional version or for the prior full circle. There's a contact Scarlet Light mission, and contact Shahid, contact Albatross, and you can do those in any order.
Yeah.
If you receive them. And for instance, you could receive a contact. This is one I'm making up mission, but then the intel that it gives you would impact on contact's late mission. And if you've already done that, then you might be confused about it, or you might not get to talk to you might want to talk to her again.
I don't mind there being like a missable dialogue though. Like
because the thing that's very clear in a game.
I actually they would have to make another significant mission, but like it would more.
The problem
would
isn't
like it,
missable
but-
dialogue, right? It's trying to figure out what the player knows and when they know it, because the more freedom you give to that kind of information, the more options you have to be able to make and
true.
design. And like clearly there's some stuff that gets cut out and they can't quite make it fit back together after they cut stuff out, right? And that's part of why this game is so janky, because it tries to do this kind of complicated spy plot, and it depends very much on what you know and when you know it.
Yeah, and to be fair, like this game does this plot like a champion, given the resources they were given and the timeline
Like
they
a
were
champ,
given.
like a champ.
I mean, because nothing else. I haven't ever played anything else that even attempts something like this.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I don't know like if like where else would you go for this?
Because it's a lot more integrated than most of the like the games that use this kind of hub and spokes model. Because like none of the Mass Effect games work this way. Because there's just not that much integration between hubs most of the time. But this tries to do that, and tries to like take into account like where if you went somewhere first and that kind of thing. And it doesn't pull it off exactly all the time, but it makes a fair effort at it.
Oh damn it! Wasn't a headshot.
I mentioned it a bit before, but I like some of those elements, and I haven't gotten to play it just for a while, but in Tides of Numenera.
Yeah.
Which is surprising, since In Exile is a studio related to Obsidian. They both come from the same legacy.
Yeah, there's some shared DNA there.
From Interplay. Did you see stuff? Wonder, did you see anything like that in Vampire Masquerade? Is also a descendant of Interplay.
Yeah, you do
play
see
with
that DNA in
Black
Vampire
Isles.
as well. Like, but then Vampire also has the problem where it's also a noticeably incomplete game. Like Alpha Protocol, and I don't know if like
Are we talking about Bloodline?
Yeah.
Yeah, Vampire
Okay,
Masquerade
just checking.
Bloodlines by Troika Games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like that also feels like a very noticeably incomplete game.
That ending is rough.
And
it's
even
so-
with the fan patch that adds some of the
Yeah.
missed content in, it still feels like an incomplete game.
And it's the thing that bugs me the most about the ending of Bloodlines isn't even like what actually happens, because like it's in some cases deliberately obscuring what's going on, right? Like you're supposed to take your own conclusions. But the thing that bugs me is how combat focused that last section is compared to everything else in the game. Like you have to just go through this giant like 4-layer building and kill everything, and none of the rest of the game works that way. Yeah.
Okay, this isn't working. I'm just gonna do the pistol thing because it is.
You're too far away.
There was actually a really amusing moment being thorough professional. I was responding to I was commenting on Carlin's blog post, or whatever, and I want to know basically scientific detail about the vampires, like how that stuff actually works. Like how does their sunlight vulnerability sort of stuff work? Like how does that actually work with the thing? And his answer like, wait till next episode. We're about to be captured by a mad scientist, and he's going to conduct these experiments on us. You'll see. that's just a thing that happens in the game.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, that was a fun LP. I miss those two. I haven't heard from them in a while.
Well, I know, etc.
I like talking with Krellin every now and then, but I haven't heard of etc. in ages.
Well, I know etc. in real life. I can ask him to or something. He doesn't live near where I live now. He moved away.
Cool.
But like at our hangouts over winter.
cool.
I think so.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we went to the
I was
same
gonna
high
say
school.
something. So let's see.
So,
I was gonna say something.
can if I say this whole section is stupid, you guys have my back on that, right?
I haven't even been hardly paying attention.
It's
I
the
do
Omen
like-
Dang boss fight.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I do like a couple things of it, in that they're just kind of interesting. Like I like Omen Dang gets to use power against you, like it kind of the same rules, but he basically Edo operative,
Oh,
which is
okay.
actually kind of cool. Like
Like it
Yeah.
is a shadow operative essentially. That's what he's using against.
yeah, the only difference is that he can use it when you're looking at him. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to tell that he's using it.
Actually,
So
I believe a high-level shadow operative can just use it in front of somebody.
can you?
think.
You can run with Shadow Operative 15. It's hilariously fun, by the way. I highly recommend it.
Oh, I have. Like I
Yeah,
remember those days. Those were good days.
it's a reason to beeline to 15 stealth if you can. Like it's not that it's amazingly good or anything. I mean it is, but more important than that, it's just very very fun.
There are a lot of things in this game that are just
I remember
broken,
the power wheel.
which is kind of the
key.
point. You forgot the key. Okay, that's what you're doing.
Wait, you can do this while you're on air.
But about use skill, which one are you doing?
I'm using change. Yeah, I know what
Q is
the
Q is
skill
use
Oh.
skill. But,
well, where's the one to change to an active one?
I don't know. I rebind the
Skills
keys,
is
so
Z.
I have a
Skills is
Z. Oh my gosh, that's awful. I rebind the skill wheel to get like the power wheel and massive or whatever. Like that is that's why I use that style, and I find spacebar very good.
So apparently, like, Z is the skill wheel and X is the ammo wheel.
No, Z is actually the NPC that meet in Moscow.
Yeah.
So I do like there's a cute little bit you can have G22 on during this. You can all have the triad members on your side.
Yeah.
And you can have Stephen Heck doing fire. So I think we got fireworks already.
We got
The
G22 and Stephen Heck. We did not get the triads on our side.
Yeah, I know. That's because we blackmailed them. But that's fine. They sometimes don't show up anyway, I think.
I mean, it depends on priorities, right? So, I don't know.
I mean, you can have all of them at the same
Okay.
time.
Yeah,
we
can have all
definitely
three of
don't have them because we blackmailed him for intel
Yeah.
instead of friendship, or not blackmailing.
You know, ancient
I like
Chinese
the G-
secrets.
Ancient
But,
Chinese secret police.
We were
Weird
talking
episodes,
about
that would be
vampire
the
earlier,
title.
and it
I
makes
mean, that was a joke I made in
yeah, that's
disclosure.
true.
I got 2 responses from it, and I'm not sure if one of them was from Krellin and then one of them was from you, or both of them was from you. But there was maniacal laughter followed by "Screw you, Will."
That sounds right. That sounds good. Oh my god.
Oh, poor. Oh, good. He's that is a bad omen for revivality.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
I'm ignoring the point,
There's a giant statue in here, by the way. We had a question about this during about like
yeah, what's the
this.
statue?
So the statue, I looked it up. I did actually do a little bit of research on this, and
Is it
is.
Confucius?
Hold on.
It's not Confucius.
Oh, this is good one. So we're going to the next area.
It is a stone Chinese statue of a bearded man from the Sun Yat-sen Memorial Hall in Taipei.
Okay. Not non-specific. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
That makes total
that's
sense.
just.
He
we
looks
don't
very.
know.
He looks very Confucian.
So
He's very confusing. I agree.
yeah, it is quite confusing.
Anyways, we were talking about vampire, and I was curious if either of you had takes on Paradox straight up closing vampire. Did you hear about this? White Wolf, they closed like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, you mean weren't they the ones that were like
tabletop,
the really like homophobic ones?
Yeah, they said that the some of the like cleansing that was going on in Chechnya was a vampire conspiracy to distract from the vampires that were ruling Chechnya. Yeah. It was weird. Anyways, that wasn't the only thing, by the way. That was definitely not the only thing.
Yeah, like
And,
there was a number of really uncomfortable like things that came out of that studio in that time. So
There was
it's hard.
some Nazi stuff too. That was bad.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint one to be the big one, but there were a lot of big ones.
Yeah. So they closed the whole studio.
Yeah.
And,
As
and
you
he
should
folded it
do.
in.
Bluntly.
I mean, they bought them, right? So there's a few things they could have done, but they could have like let them go and kept the IP, right?
Yeah.
So they folded the studio, and I'm sure a lot of those people would leave and go do other stuff. It's just interesting, and I'm trying to figure out if they're going to do anything in the CRPG space instead of just tabletop with that license.
This is you're talking about licensing people making the tabletop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remembering the whole thing where cooldowns take place in real, or cutscenes take place in real time, so cooldowns go down during cutscenes. I realized There is never a point where that actually matters, because like there's always this like little hall before the boss fight where you can get your preparations taken care of and just wait if you want to.
Well, illusion lasts a long time, but it's typically not a boss battle. That one. The only thing I can think is like the Conrad Marburg fight. If you fight him, if you manage to convince him to stay there,
I can see, like, but
even
most of the time.
even then you end up giving like a fairly long speech most of the time. So yeah, like you're probably gonna have to pull that anyway.
Before boss fights, that would work too.
You're in over your head.
Oh no, he said it. We're in over our head.
Oh god. I do like this as like an arena, because like with overseeing the speech and everything, that's neat. Oh, he's dead. Goodbye, Omendang. Oh wow.
No, it doesn't do that much damage.
I'm surprised. Usually the 5 chain shot does a lot more than that.
But you have to. Yeah,
Have to have a good gun too.
it's the yeah, it's reducing your powers.
This is kind of silly.
So, are you gonna kill him, or are you gonna add him to your party?
We're gonna talk to him afterwards. Just so we can highlight how dumb this whole thing is.
And again, like the real problem with it is the setup. The fact that Omendang isn't well set up.
Like there's nothing
it's
inherently wrong with the idea of like
like
I said before. There's nothing wrong with the idea inherently of you are fighting someone who is on your side ultimately. The problem ends up being like they don't really set it up in a way that makes any real sense.
Yeah, it's not explained properly. They get these things where, you know, they force you into these boss fights sometimes, or like force you into a confrontation that doesn't necessarily always end in a boss fight. You aren't really free to determine the information the way that you should be able to.
I mean,
it's just impossible.
It does ostensibly work if you just assume there's some badass guy. I think he's the one that's going to kill everybody. He's the one that's going to kill the president. If you just make that kind of snap judgment. But there's no real reason for you to do that other than prior games experience or whatever. And like, there's no story reason to that.
Why should I share anything with the man who wants to murder Ronald's son?
Wait, what?
My sources were clear.
So I kind of hate. I remember like the first time I played this game where I kind of really resented the game for like only after you fought Omendang do you get to say, "Oh wait, huh? What?"
Yeah.
You're not the assassin.
When like just reading the dossier, just fucking reading it, gives you the impression of, "Oh, whoops, this is not the right guy." Like I never once bought Omendang to be plausibly the killer.
It's also kind of weird, like, why does Omendang think that Thornton will be the killer in this particular scenario?
They never really talk about that ever.
Thornton can be a loose cannon in many of the other places, and so it would be reasonable to expect him to do that, but, like, why does he think that Thornton is going to shoot Sung right now? Like, you've got Thornton occupied.
Like if they
that
had,
part
like,
Omendang's makes sense, but why would I tell the person who's trying to run, like, but he's not.
Like, even
he's not
like one line explaining the hotel thing, like, makes me think you're the killer. Like, I could even buy that theoretically.
I'm glad the information.
But they don't even mention it. They don't even mention a good reason why Omendang would suspect you.
Perk required, Secret Service. You saved his life. Good job.
Yeah, now he likes me, but only barely.
I mean, you did just shoot him in the face like 15 times.
He shot first. I like when Thornton goes, "Show yourself," and he just goes, "No."
No.
Like some fucking 8-year-old. Show yourself, Omen, or you're not getting any cookies from Mama. No, I don't want cookies.
It's also just a good retort, guy. Like, come out and fight me. Stand up. Like, come on. Fuck you. No. Why? Stupid.
You're in over your head.
Oh god. Yeah, another announcement that happened this past week that I wanted to talk about because it's relevant is that Obsidian announced a new video game.
I know.
From the makers of the original Fallout and Fallout New Vegas, aka the ones you like.
Yes.
The slight was not unnoticed by the internet.
No, it's definitely not.
Is
So,
that
like,
what it was titled? Was it?
It's called a New World something. Fucking.
I think it actually is the New World.
I am a big fan. I'm a big fan of the New World Symphony by Dvorak.
Tell me you.
I have to say, I am
Here,
happy
I'm
to see a video game made all about it.
It's like
I'm gonna look-
Borderlands.
I think
but
it's
if you
Outer
added
Worlds.
an
I think it's
RP.
Outer Worlds. Yeah,
It's
the
like
Outer.
Fallout cross Borderlands.
Yeah, it's definitely very Fallout
That
Borderlandsy.
strikes me as a little.
It's got that sense of like irreverence, right, and like just wacky sci-fi nonsense.
Well, as a point, then that sounds more like. Note that I've never actually played through either of these games, but it sounds more like Fallout 2 and Fallout original. Fallout 2, as far as I know, had more of the
Wacky. Yeah.
more of the wacky wasteland type thing, all the way integrated through it, rather than like a few small events like we're in Fallout. Fallout 2 had a larger portion of those.
But to some respect, that's where the
No, the Fallout 2, like that's all sort of the same team that ended up becoming.
Yeah.
Better get moving.
Yeah. And that's part of where the Borderlands influence comes in, right? Is that kind of weird, wacky, like nothing actually matters kind of thing. Like there's this one time where someone's giving a speech and it's like you have a choice, and there's two civilians and you just shoot one of them, and they're like that's not what I meant, and they don't care. That kind of thing.
Wait, well,
Like they were trying to give this big speech about how you have to make a choice, and the assumption from the player or the avatar is that you're gonna have to shoot one of the two people. So you shoot one of them, and the person that was saying, well, you have to make this choice is like, that's not what I meant.
I meant what game is it from, or what is it from? Is that?
Oh, that was in the Outer Worlds trailer.
Okay, it's from the new.
Yeah,
That's pretty good. Because I like humor. I don't know if you're doing this.
Humor is good. I enjoy humor.
Humor on this point, if you will.
but yeah, I am
Humor.
going to
I love
send the-
humor.
My style.
There's the trailer.
You have a knack for engendering trust. A useful skill for an intelligence agent.
Must be my winning.
It must be my
personality.
protagonist powers.
That's all you cared about. Then. Destabilizing.
A knack for
Taipei.
engendering trust. Yeah.
Yes, it must be my protagonist powers.
Yeah, that's what he means by winning personality.
For independence, the People's Republic will prepare for
Yeah,
war.
because you die so often that you'll eventually win, right?
So, less.
There's that too.
Malbec makes a fortune off the new Cold War.
If there's one thing better for business than a war, it's a Cold War.
So I don't know whether I'm going to choose to punch Leyland later on, but it's very tempting because he has a very punchable face.
He does have a very punchable face.
And Mike has a very punching fist. Now, I'd say that I feel like Taipei also. I think there's a bit more talk about that because Taipei, the Taiwan-China situation feels much more like a thing that's not going to start a Cold War. Now, I know we instead rather start an actual war. That's part of why can Mina start their. We got to totally stop this. If they think to start a Cold War, they're wrong. They're going to start a real war. But
yeah.
if the Taiwan-China situation is one that's extremely likely for that, because I mean, the real trouble is not starting a Cold War, but eventually starting like
A real war accident.
a really bloody occupation.
Yeah.
So like in actual, just so we're clear, the Republic of China does not have the kind of resources and military might to actually fight a real war. Like
Not right. Not right now.
Oh, well, not right now. Well, not right now because at one point in the distant past they had a bit more, although they were still significantly weaker. They lose the Civil War. Although, like a part of its like strategy, Mao Zedong was very well equipped for the particular type of war that he was leading at the time, which
Yeah.
actually caused problems for him later on because he wasn't very good at like normal
like
normal
actually governing.
normal governance, yeah, which is actually like a major instigator for the revolution because of the way of like let's go back to old tactics. They're very much fit for the leaders involved, and that ended up being a really big problem because it wasn't an appropriate step to take.
You want leader for war and not for peace, kind of thing.
Yeah. Anyway, the ROC's forces were weaker in the past, and now compared to massive economy, are much weaker now in comparison. So they're stronger compared to their self, but they've been comparatively far outstripped by the PRC's resources. And so any actual like hot war just directly between the two of them would end quickly in terms of China defeating the PRC defeating
it's more like
military forces. Then they'd have to occupy the country, and Taiwan has like I forget how many millions of people, 15, 20 million. I'll look it up.
a lot for an island.
A lot of people for a small island.
23.58 million.
Yeah, there you go. And these people have their own cultural history and don't like expectations of how the governance is going to work and
The closest,
how their economy is going to work like and how they're going to live and how they're not going to have tanks and soldiers on every street. And so you would end up with a very, very, very costly occupation.
the closest comparison I
Essentially a
can think of
counterinsurgency.
is the Russian occupation of like eastern Ukraine. But even that space is not the same. There's fewer people there probably. There's like double the people in Ukraine. I'm not exactly sure about the population distribution. And they've been separate for a lot less time than the PRC and the ROC have been. But that's the closest thing I can think of. You have these
There is also there's also like some local support for Russian forces in that area, whereas poll-wise in Taiwan, you about like the population, like
it's overwhelmingly
unification with the
against
PRC,
invasion.
reunification with the PRC in terms of like integrate into the PRC, rather than there's a small percentage that there's also like this used to be the main view of the KMT, and it's gotten decreased down to just let's just leave it at the status quo. But there's still a small percentage people who want reunification with the PRC in terms of the PRC goes away and we come up. Whereas most people in Taiwan just accept that like that's not a realistic goal at all.
No.
It's much better to just have this quo instead, and stands in for that in some way.
Yeah, that
so
is
they
a good
might
point.
think as like a long term someday maybe, but you know.
Yeah, because there's no feeling of Ukraine as being the true Russia, right? I mean, there might be some Ukrainian fascists that think that, but
maybe, but certainly mainstream view in Ukraine
is not and never has been. We are the true Russia.
It's not and never has been. We have the true Russia. No, it's very much. Excuse me, we would like to not be thought of as Russia at all. Please, you've made it somewhere.
Contact him, see what I can find out about Elbara.
So you know what they say: when in Rome, you have the best safe house.
I mean, it is Rome.
I actually really like this safe house. This is my favorite one of the three of the main hubs.
You can actually see, like, further than like a wall in front of you.
Yeah.
Oh, I will note that I think it has been redesigned since like an early build of the game. You're going to do something later on, which I would never recommend actually doing, but I'm going to make you do it because we're going to show. Madison will have a line of dialogue that refers to the setup of this safe house, and it's different in how it is actually laid out. This kind of makes me think went through like multiple level designs of this safe house and possibly all the safe houses. And they were even still designing them up in the end. But yeah, this place is pretty gorgeous.
Yeah, and you also have this outdoor area with the hot tub here too.
Like I like it pays quite a lot in terms of it's the Batcave, but so it's a little over the top. But like there are with piles of paperwork on them, and you've got multiple different feeds giving you information like there's like stock ticker updates type thing, and you know clearly like there's multiple ways to gain and analyze information, and you've got boxes out in like some kind of smart fashion, or like going through that. Whereas here you've got a couple boxes, sitting next to the computer, and some stuff laid out on the table. There's comparatively little like legwork research type stuff going on in this place, whereas Taipei's safe house very, very strongly emphasizes that you are going through reams and reams of background information. Mike is like,
well yeah, it's like you said, it's the Batcave. It's literally like the Batcave.
Yeah. I dislike that one somewhat because it's even cool. Like next to the motorcycle, I forgot to point this out, but if you go back and look or whatever, to the motorcycle behind some like a chain link fence is a whole server farm array. So you've got like that embedded into the Batcave, and that's really cool.
We should have enough time for one of these.
Yeah, we got one more. We got time.
Let's do the easy one.
Want to get some ice cream?
Oh, that's later.
Well, the quick one is the ice cream one.
Got a good view of the estate where this meeting is supposed to take place. What now?
Albara's our target. He's supposed to be here tonight.
Oh, glad I brought this right.
Oh, actually, no, I haven't eaten dinner yet for dessert.
Transmit images to me
Yeah.
in real time.
Not quite.
The bloody dessert.
See if we get a match.
So the idea is that Alcimont has this contact in Rome, and we're supposed to identify him.
And if the target's a scumbag?
The overarching idea from the beginning of the game is an Alcimont cell has been activated in Rome. We don't know why. Go there and kind of putter around and investigate. Like, this mission is the first 3 missions are actually kind of decent at that, in that you're actually doing some legwork. Like, you infiltrate 2 different intelligence gathering operations.
Oh my god,
the
sniper rifle is the
NSA.
worst.
Oh, it is awful. You can also shoot these people if you want, by the way, just for no reason. You can.
Yeah, there's no
you can
reason
shoot
to,
them
so I'm
all.
not going to.
No, there's a perk. There's a perk. Hmm?
Yeah, I don't trust myself with
And-
a sniper rifle to be able to kill all of them before they escape.
And all like about these characters are not that interesting, extremely minor, and doesn't give you any like useful intelligence or anything. So you can just skip through this.
I like this mission as a
I don't care.
concept. Like, this is a lot more
I feel like
creative than most of the missions.
this definitely strikes me as a 100% repurposed mission. Like,
Oh,
they
yeah,
this
absolutely.
large area, you were supposed to be traveling through it as a big like thing, linear like the mansion, and then they were like, yeah, we gotta cut some stuff, or maybe we can't populate this. They couldn't spend the time populating it with identical enemies or whatever, and they're just like, we had this idea for this mission where you're looking through some sort of zoom lens or whatever. And then they stuck it on a sniper rifle because they didn't have to create any new methods, and they sat you through here.
Yeah, they must have made this in a rush.
And nobody.
Looks like
Well,
But
in a rush, but after having already made it, that's
Yeah.
like
That's what I
there's
mean.
so
I'm
much.
sorry.
There's so much
I-
detail in there.
I meant
they must have made
this
this
is clearly
mission-
this is probably asset reuse. You're right.
Yeah, but not it's like the assets. Clearly, they spent a long time on this, and there's even talk like
Let's begin.
like there's information in the files of Mike going through, like moving between these different elements or whatever. Mike's tuxedo on, which would obviously use. You never see it outside of the position scenes, right?
He's a
Like, this isn't this right now is not a
related to
person.
financing terrorists or arms smuggling.
Yeah.
But it seems very, very clear that they built this as a mission that you're gonna walk
Something you would travel
and go
through,
between
yeah.
different areas. Well,
I
there
do
be
wonder
some.
what mission was originally supposed to be here. Like what the original intent of this map was, or if this actually was like the actual intent of the map all along. Like, I would love you to fly on the wall in the conversation.
He's suspected of dipping into but that's all I've got.
Hang a little on the mission summary screen when we get there, because I think there might be some information there that will reveal it.
Security guard. He's clean.
You know, where it says Mike did blah blah blah, Mike did
Yeah.
blah blah blah. I think some of those might indicate that they did intend this to be this kind of mission, but with more stealthing around segments or whatever, or blending
Or,
in
like
segments.
dodging them, or like darting around them, and
More Hitman-y,
Yeah.
basically.
Not our man.
well, yeah, because you wear a tux,
Professional.
You
which
are-
presumes that you're disguising your way through this.
I remember reading about that. Should I get an autograph for me?
Although, again, we are wearing the do-rag and the beard. So,
He's small time.
I'm in position overlooking the
He's
chateau.
very eccentric.
Lot
Yeah,
of
because like if you look at your outfit, you're wearing a tux during this mission, which implies that like there was originally like some sort of, as you
You were
said,
gonna go
Hitman
in.
style like ballroom like exploration level.
Oh, also, hit tab when you're in the next bit.
Tab and go where?
The character thing. You can see him wearing the tux. Service
oh,
records.
yeah, service record. Oh yeah, yeah. Here, for example, you're wearing the tux with the do-rag and beard.
Oh yeah.
It's one of the few places you can get a really good look at the tux.
So yeah, Duck Dynasty got big all of a sudden.
They made bank.
I mean, they did.
Those duck calls are fucking making a fortune for that family.
But I do like them trying to switch it up though, because I get very tired of walking through halls in this game.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
The
Yes.
first missions of this are also all very different and very unusual.
Yeah.
We've got a conversation. The content one, it's more like navigate this conversation, avoid raising suspicion, or make a decision to take something out.
That's probably why I
take
like
personnel.
Rome the most.
This is this weird mission. I think so too. And the CIA mission, which is like structure, like the normal walking through, snake or shoe mission, right thing. Except it's really not. It's more like a small thief level because you have a relatively small thing that you do. But you can just run
CIA
your way
mission
through,
is
but you
probably
can't stealth through, and it's a mission in the game
The CIA
because it makes a lot of sense. It's really
is probably my favorite mission of the game because it is noticeably like much more possible to sneak in the CIA mission than like any of the other missions in the game.
that it's much more rewarding.
Yeah.
Because in most of the
sort
levels
of
in this
seems
game,
like
it's
if you
easier
just
to
stealth through them all.
Yeah.
It's easier to just fight through
barely
most of
to-
them though.
Yeah. Also, they're being
You
slower,
also like I don't know if any of you
whereas
ever
in
got
a small
this.
build, it doesn't matter much.
I don't know if you ever got this, but if you beat the CIA mission without even touching any of the guards, you get a perk on
Yeah,
top. Yeah. You get
No, I've
you get
done
a
that.
ghost perk as well as like
Yeah.
one for just not killing anybody.
Oh, yeah. Just so we're clear, I am talking about ghosting as my favorite my favorite mission. Like if you just use it as a run around and non kill people, or like sneak by and without being seen take them down or whatever. I know you could have fun with that, I think too, but I am specifically talking about the ghosting version of that mission being my favorite mission because it is like it's also really feels really, really cool in the story of you snuck into the CIA base, didn't even know you were there. You are, as Mike points out, listening in on the link post,
Yeah.
which is the great irony.
It also just feels like
and
noticeably better
the CIA
designed
agents
as a stealth
Makes
space.
and it also it just feels really good.
Yeah, it's noticeably better designed than a lot of the other levels in the game, and I don't know if that says anything about me.
Naturally, we won't get to today, so you'll just have to use your imagination, viewer.
A lot of State Department and Interpol records. State Department says he's dirty. Interpol says his finances are legitimate, though. And
Mina, do I take him out?
none of these State Department records are sourced. I can't tell where they came from or when. Best
Now,
I can tell, they're
as much as I do like that we do like a little bit of legwork at the beginning, like these minutes for
I don't know.
Mike just kind of
Say yes.
less wandering around shooting people like in Moscow. Actually, like trying to follow up on leads or trying to gain more intel directly from the NSA tapping or the CIA tapping.
I'm aborting
The Albara point doesn't really wind up very interesting at all, or doesn't work out.
Yeah,
like
I
it
mean,
gets
this-
dropped
this
essentially
doesn't
immediately
go
after this
anywhere.
mission.
It doesn't go anywhere, like, because, spoiler alert, Albara gets assassinated left screen right after this mission is complete.
Which is like it does provide a good like hint for Marburg's later possible action of that. As soon as he thinks that someone's not of direct immediate value to them, he just like shoots them, which is a character. It's weird. But Aura is basically there. He is an Al-Samad contact. He is part of Al-Samad, and he's there to kind of like marshal the forces that Halbech agents are trying to impersonate, basically, or trying to use for their own purpose. And so, with kind of like being exposed to Mike, now that Mike knows about him, Marburg is going to take him out. Is going to take Albar out just because he doesn't think he's that. Just because he was there's like convenience anyway.
Beeping noise.
One of the few times the game ever tells you have email.
What's that beeping noise?
It's probably
I
actually
know,
the only time the game tells you have email. Now I think about it.
It is. It's also really, really weird.
Yeah.
Huh? What's that beeping noise? Aldwin.
Yeah.
Aldwin says he'd like me outside of a coffee shop in Rome, Cologne. I have not assassinated anyone. Interesting. I'm gonna have Mina investigate this, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, seems legit.
Mina says it is from Alduin. He's just an it. Oh, okay. All right. Sure, let's alone. I am definitely not carrying any poisons with me. No, I should. All right. We'll end it without that last bit.
So I think we're going to stop in a few minutes. Just to
Yep.
Chat for a bit about what we've gone over so far.
We did a lot of stuff today, actually.
Yeah. For the short time we streamed, yeah, we got a lot done.
But by the way, it said PRC/RC, and Republic of China beat ROC.
I
That
thought
was a
I
mistake
thought it
in
said
the
ROC.
game.
Oh, in the game.
It did.
I said
in
that
the game.
earlier, so I thought you were talking about me.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense because, like, of is generally,
Yeah, but I mean that
when people do
ROC
it, they typically do say
standard
ROC.
is standard abbreviation for it. So that shows someone who doesn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or an editor that maybe didn't know it's possible to do. Like, often, just go through multiple different revisions.
Something
So there
got
could be
overlooked
multiple
somewhere.
authors there, multiple editors on there, and usually the editors do a very good job with this sort of stuff. But if there was just one of them on there rather than multiple, maybe they didn't. Or maybe it was an inherent problem, or, whatever. Different ways that
Stuff gets overlooked sometimes, and especially if you have a project that is rushed or goes through a lot of revisions, more stuff gets mixed.
Yeah, because and everything in this game kind of feels like it's kind of like hastily put together because it was to some degree. But going back to our previous conversation, it feels like if I would say if Taipei was the one that was least put together, I think Rome is the one that was most put together out of the three hubs. Like this feels like the most complete and like
consistent,
well organized hub of the three.
Actually, to the point that later on there's 2 missions that we'll get where there is clearly a correct order to do them in.
Yeah.
They actually they should have been a little bit more linear. Like they did a better job with the plot than they did sort of too strong a job in that they didn't adequately explain one mission and had instead a very, very strong motivation or strong result. And so you do that one first, feel really dumb.
And Russia's somewhere in between where like it does generally there's generally a good through line through Russia's hub, but there are a couple of like fringe things that could have been a little tighter. But I think I'm looking forward to going through Rome because I always enjoy, like I always say this part of last because I enjoy it the most of the 3 hubs.
And so I'll say that when I recently played through Alpha Protocol, I actually did Rome first deliberately because I thought that Rome was like I originally did last, and that's the way I've done it in previous playthroughs because it felt like a capstone hub.
My first run I did Taipei last, and I did Russia first. Yeah.
Okay. But Rome feels like we're doing it last. It feels like, oh, this is a good final one, and I deliberately did it to try and see if it's weird, and I actually didn't. Rome feels a really good first hub. Well, so I think Rome just fits as a good hub like any place in the world, which is a good something.
Yeah, and
for a story in which you can do the hubs in different.
Yeah, because it's trying to make it where
different.
Yeah.
It's very different from like Mass Effect, where you just have this one thing at the end of the hub, and everything else is kind of irrelevant. So you just get this one thing that helps you with the main plot.
Yeah.
And that's it. It doesn't actually try to integrate them in any real
And
way.
I will say,
like
my first run where I
but-
made Taipei last, like the Taipei levels felt weird. Like it felt weird getting to this this really important assassination like months after it was already in the works.
Yeah. The time urgency is a little.
Oh,
weird.
you know what? I just have a good excuse for that sort of thing. Like how they've done it. Like if they'd really sold up Scar messing with you, throwing you on Dang's scent, throwing Dang onto your scent, that would actually be some like.
Where they had deliberately had to
you
wait for
can't-
you to get
You
there and start
deliberately had to
working.
wait for Turn to get there so you can interfere in Omen Dang. If they'd actually done a like setup, that'd be a very spy movie like setup too.
Yeah.
Like intricate work arts relying on external agents working against other external agents providing interference for you to slip in something very small and surgical.
Because Taipei
That
gets
would be
close.
fine, but they don't. It's the parts are there, but it's not executed right.
Yeah, Taipei gets close. It just kind of flubbed on the execution and like some of the connecting tissue between the
And-
beats.
And a lot of the backstory, but that goes into
Yeah.
the dossiers.
Yeah.
But it is kind of disappointing to me that Obsidian's going back to the well, so to speak, with something like Outer Worlds, which does feel very much in their wheelhouse.
I would like to
Is-
have them to take a second chance at a spy RPG, not Off Protocol. Off Protocol was kind of
Like I don't even know about a spy RPG, but something that's not fantasy or science fiction. Like literally any contemporary fiction.
'Cause-
Like it'd be curious to see what they did with it.
or even the Council, because I played that recently. They RPG-ified like
More of an adventure game
an
kind
adventure
of thing
game system.
instead of the classic role-playing game.
Has the council been good? The way I saw Mumbles played a bit of it, and it seemed like really cool.
Half of episode 4, the story goes really off the rails in a kind of a dumb way. But like, it's interesting from a mechanical perspective, and I am probably going to talk about it in my Game of the Year list.
It's fascinating, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't played it, but from what I've seen, it's very interesting because it's a
And
really
you're-
common issue with Obsidian in particular, but RPGs in general, that there's just way too much crap, especially combat.
I mean, yeah, we're playing Off Protocol when you're talking about that, so
Yeah, exactly.
like,
There's just too much shit where you're just
I
wandering
mean-
around.
which also partly why I like Rome so much, because it has a lot of the missions that I like, where you're talking to people or you're
The conversations are always the
Or
highlight.
just sneaking
or you're
around.
sneaking
to see
around a
a-
smaller
Yeah.
space that's more contained.
And allows you to sneak around better.
Yeah.
I think that's something that three of us have said. I've only said it many
Yeah.
times. That Alpha Protocol would be much better if there were less of it.
Yeah.
Right? If there were less bad stuff.
Which is
Because
like, it's weird saying that because the game is like only 8 hours long. Like you
It's not very long.
finish this game in a single day.
Because I mean, it feels like an adventure game format, right? Like
Yeah.
you go around, the things you want to do are talk to people, and there's really not that many characters that, especially that reoccur.
Yeah.
So
Usually,
it's about-
I think you play it in more like 12, 10 hours or something.
yeah, it's faster on the second one for sure.
I mean,
on
or
first
especially
run.
if you're like skipping over a lot of stuff, which you
Mhm.
can do in repeat runs.
As opposed to like reading every single email.
Yeah, or yeah, I think that's going to be much like Disclosure. We've done 9 weeks of each being like an hour and a half each. So you know, that's
I mean, we're not
30,
breezing through
45
this by any
hours.
means, but we're 6 recording sessions in. And we're already at the
Moving
final
right
hub of
along.
the game. Like that's for an RPG. That's
Yeah, it's pretty
significant.
short for an RPG. It pays
Even
much more like
even then, that means we've spent about 10 and a half hours so far.
Yeah. And we're not breezing through the game. We're taking our jolly old time through it, honestly.
well, sometimes.
Look, Mike's got to do some exercise. That's why he's been around here.
Anyways,
He's got to work that off.
Yeah. Anyways,
Gotta work all that party food off that he was eating with the sniper rifle in his other hand.
Yeah. Anyways, I think it's about time
Yeah.
to wrap up for this week.
But
Let's be honest. He just like cheese in the pocket of the text or something.
yeah,
No, he had to get that thing right. I'm sure.
we'll have to redo the email shit next time. But this was fun.
If you want to avoid that, I'll tell you how to do a camera. Or I'll
Alright.
tell you right now while it's on camera. All right, what you're gonna do is you're gonna start the next mission, and then you're gonna load. Once it fits to finish the stuff, load the last safe house.
Right,
And that'll
I don't
bring
like-
you back to a save here, and then you'll be hard to save there.
Nah, we'll be fine. It's like it takes 2 seconds to do the email stuff, so
I'm saying it's actually a useful tip for anybody
Yeah.
playing through the game. But you don't want to like have to go through email and make decisions like that again.
well, if you've done a ton of
Start the next
customization,
mission.
like if you did a lot of like buying
Finish it.
shit and selling shit and email decisions, yeah, you should start the next mission to get the autosave. But since all I did
Then-
was like check some replies,
And then you don't have to do the mission. You just load checkpoint and then make you a last safe house checkpoint. And this is actually one of the few times that the autosave system is the checkpoint system is actually helpful. Most of the time, I just find it annoying.
yeah.
But in this case, it is helpful.
With that said, take care, guys. Once again, I'm Brandon Carey. Joining me is Alduin
Hey.
and Anaphysics/Will.
It's like,
Take you next time, guys. Goodbye.
Schwindel.
See you.
Bye.